Very, very basic. We had a few chicken, we had some rabbits. There was a chicken club and a rabbit club and a bee club, a guinea pig club, I believe. Then we got hold of some goats. They used to eat a bit of stale bread from the kitchen while we were milking them. And it was some time before any livestock, real farm livestock, came. I only learnt in recent years that Tony Edwards, the agricultural teacher who actually started the same day as I did, he actually went off and bought some sheep out of his own pocket to have the first sheep here. 2 Welsh gilts appeared from somewhere. He was a very staunch Welshman. I got a feeling he would have bought those as well.
So what happened in these guinea pig clubs, rabbit clubs, bee clubs?
I was involved with the bee club. I thought that was something that could be useful in years to come. I remember taking a swarm one day. That it was the night before we went home on the summer holidays, and we shook these bees down into a cardboard box, is what we were told to do, and one got angry and stung me in the eye, just below the eye I think it was, and by the time I got home next day I had a job to see out of that eye. The joys of beekeeping. Yeah, the farm is so much different, and there is our thoughts of modernising the farm buildings even more so. How to think that the dairy sort of relates in particular with the huge dairying complex which there is at Cannington. Do you feel that the boys are better to be trained on the more personal touch with the individual cows as they are at Brymore as against the mass production milking which goes on at Cannington College?
That question I can answer because I have done feeding at Cannington College, and while down at Rodway Farm, when they have the mass production cows, it's harder in a sense that you've got more cows to milk and you've got to maintain kind of how the machinery work. You can't really be sort of a more personal touch like you do at Brymore, where you sort of get up early in the morning and you get the cows in, and then you kind of, you attach the clusters and that. You feel like you've actually achieved more than just mass production of just, the cows automatically come in, they automatically get served, they automatically get fed, and you don't feel like you've really done anything to achieve your goal. Whereas with Brymore, with our Step Up a Breast Parlour, it's all about trying to get the right number of cows in yourself, and weighing out the right measurement of food to fill up the troughs every day, and it sort of gives you more of an experience and teaches you more about responsibility than if you were with mass production.
The first cattle that came to Brymore were brought here by a parent of a boy in the younger year from us. It was 4 Devon-type steers, and we had to put them in a shed down there, which is no longer exists now. And to keep them in, we had to go up the woods behind the walled gardens and cut some long ash poles to put across to keep them in. We didn't have gates to keep them in. And we were growing some fodder beet, and we were chopping them up with a spade. And I was over at Withiel Farm, Mr. Baker's next door there one day, and I saw this old root pulper, half covered in brambles, and all the woodwork was rotten on it. But I wound the handle, and it was mechanically sound. So I came back and I said to Mr. Edwards about it. I think it was 3 and 6pence or something like that, It was not very much money anyway for this thing that Mr. Baker said he'd sell it to us for. And I remember to this day, Mr. Edwards, he said, "Well done, Fry." And he went to his desk and he opened his tobacco tin with a bit of loose cash in there. And after he gave me the money to pay for this pulper, we used that then to grind up the fodder beet, which was too hard for these steers to eat without chopping it up. And eventually, when those 4 steers were finished, the parent of the lad that was here, he took back 2 of them, and we had the money for the other 2. And that's how Brymore sort of started off with some funding for its agricultural kitty, if you like.
So what did you do after you left Brymore?
I went home to my father's farm, and I stayed with him for 10 years, and I was married in that time and had 3 children, and we emigrated to Australia for 4.5 years, and then we came back and made a start again. A friend of mine offered me 28 acres of land and some buildings, so no accommodation. We bought 2 caravans and lived in there for 3.5 years. until we got the tenancy of a county council farm on the Quantocks, where we then stayed for 28 years until we retired. So, yep, thanks to Broymore, we had the enthusiasm and dedication to the cause, I believe, and it's been tough. It's a one-man sort of band on that size of farm that we had. Although we finished up with 180 acres, it was still a difficult acreage to make a living on, but we got there. Thanks to Broymore.
You have a Treasure of Old Boys. How long has it been going for, and are there any connections with the current school?
The original year of 1952, they set up the Old Boys Association when they left, and I have the privilege and honour, I suppose, of being the winner of the very first Old Boys Prize that was ever awarded in 1956. It was a book token for 28 shillings. And I went into Smith's and I thought, well, I don't read books, so I will write one. And so I bought a cash ledger, and every entry is recorded there for everything that I bought and sold throughout the whole of my farming career. If I'd gone on reworking for another 10 years, I think I might have just filled it up. But there's a little bit of space left, but I did a good job at nearly almost filling it up anyway. And then... 20 years ago, I suppose now, through lack of interest, I think, and finding anybody to run it at the time, it just died off and was defunct, I suppose, really, for about 10 or 12 years. And then we reformed it again about 8 years ago, and, we haven't looked back since. We have now got 355 or so members, paying £20 subscription per head a year. We do the summer draw, the summer raffle on open day, when we generally clear about £2,300, £2,400 a year from that. And the money we raise goes to provide bursaries for boys to come to Broymore who otherwise may not have been able to. And we attempt to give a third of the cost of boarding to 3 boys each year, and if we need to support them for the full 3 years, we will. Sometimes we don't get a request until their second year or even third year, so we can juggle our figures around a bit, and we reckon to help 3 boys every year with a third of the cost of their boarding.
Are you glad that you came to Broymore?
Every bit. I've always said it's the best thing that my parents ever did to me was to send me to Broymore. We had tough times, as they were at the time, but we enjoyed those times. The logo on the school signs now is Broymore, experience to last a lifetime. I think was very much based on the headmaster's recognition of what the Old Boys do, and our involvement back here still after 60 years. We're coming back, trying to put more back into Broymore to compensate, in a way, no obligation, but to compensate for what we benefited from Broymore in the years that we were here, and I mean that sincerely. There's no truer words, particularly in my experience and many, many others, that would bear witness to that statement. It is an experience to last a lifetime.